All right, we're back. This is the first episode. We had our pilot episode. We were figuring out a name that was just us tinkering around, but we're back. First episode of ADV Talk Podcast. That's the name we decided on. We like it. We're going to run it. I'm Arlo.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Backer. Backerthebiker.
Backerthebiker. This is the guy we talked about in the pilot episode. He's here. He's got some awesome content. You've been a madman with these notes for topics. I feel like we have enough for a year's worth of podcasts.
This is my game, buddy.
This is 17 seasons.
Invited him to the group notes that we have, and literally you had 25 topics before, I don't know, an hour and a half it felt like.
Yeah, I had 10 minutes of work, and I just got busy. I had a lot of ideas, so.
Goodness, I feel like you've been waiting for this moment for a while. It's what it felt like, but anyway.
He was born for this.
Excited to be here.
You are a key point of this. I'm excited to have you here. So
Thank you, buddy.
So,
Appreciate it.
and Patrick, obviously.
Well,
All right, so topic number one for what we're going to do here in this, we're gonna have three topics. We're gonna go pretty quick, probably 25 minutes or less. The moment that Backer knew he had to get an adventure bike. So walk us through that story.
It's a good little story here. So I've been riding motorcycles for a long time, since I was like 10, 12 years old. I had a dirt bike, had several dirt bikes growing up. And then in my early 20s, got my first sport bike, and rode sport bikes for many years. And one point in time, I was in my mid-20s, and I was down at Deals Gap on my R6 and riding along. And Patrick called this a while ago. But cruising along, I was going down the Blue Ridge Parkway, riding the whole Blue Ridge Parkway. And I pulled off into some campground, and there was a road that went out the back of the campground. And I rode down this road a little ways, and I wanted to go down this road and see where it went. I was real curious. And it started getting rough. It turned into a rock road, and there were a bunch of ruts and stuff.
You're on an R6?
On my R6, yeah. And so I got to a point where the road was pretty rutted out. It was kind of at the entrance. It was rutted out, and I didn't know what was past that. I wanted to go, but I decided it probably would be best if I didn't. But it really killed me that I couldn't go down this road. It was called Hyantuga Round Bottom Road. And I've got a picture somewhere. I've got a picture of the R6. I wasn't able to find that. But I got a picture of the R6 in front of a sign that says Hyantuga Round Bottom Road. And it says, next many miles or unmaintained back road, rock road. So super disappointed, couldn't go down it on the R6. But I knew at that moment, because it killed me that I couldn't, I knew that I had to go get an adventure bike. So finished riding the Blue Ridge Parkway, and immediately went home and started shopping for adventure bikes. And it was a couple months after that I bought my KLX 400, got my adventure bike, rode around here in Jasper quite a bit for a while. And then the very next year, 2010, I went down and did Deals Gap again, and I took both bikes, the R6 and the KLX 400. And I've got another picture in front of that same sign with the KLX 400.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that time I went down that road and saw where it went. Turns out it wasn't that bad. After you got past those initial ruts, it was a pretty smooth rock road, and I totally could have taken the R6 down. That's probably best I didn't, though. Yeah.
Backer was holding out on this story because we really wanted to hear. We talked about last time what got us into it, and it was mostly Backer, but we wanted to know what got Backer into the adventure bikes.
A very defined moment, yeah.
This is the origin story for us three to ride adventure bikes, basically.
Here we are.
But he wouldn't tell us. He was holding out on the story, and I guess that it had something to do with an R6 and some place he wouldn't be able to go through, or he got stuck or something. So we pretty much nailed it.
Well, you mentioned that Backer raced sport bikes. So did you race that R6?
I never raced the R6. I did several track days on it, but never raced that bike. And I don't know that I ever raced a real sport bike. I raced my vintage bike, my old Honda CB350.
I guess that's more what I was thinking of, the vintage.
But I did a lot of track days on the R6, and I even had a CBR 954 before that, and I did track days on it as well. So, yep.
Okay. Yep. So since you got into adventure bikes, did you, I'm thinking like, did you ever miss sport bikes, or was this, since you've been adventure riding, is this just like all you've known and loved? Or
So I got that KLX 400 in 2010, and immediately I was hooked on adventure riding because of the fact that, like Patrick talked about in last episode, you can go anywhere, you can do anything. There's no road you can't go down, and that's really what I love about it, is that there are no boundaries. I can go down the interstate, I can go down any highway, I can go down a rock road or a mud road or even some light trails, right, on my adventure bike. But I still kept my R6, and up until this past year. I just sold it this past winter, about a year ago. So, but it was to the point where, yeah, I wasn't riding it very much, and it wasn't being kept maintained because I rode it once a year, So it was time for it to go and find some new love somewhere. So
Yeah.
Yep.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, now we know.
Yeah.
And we'll put the picture on this on the screen.
picture's
so
going to be right here.
boom.
Right there. Do you see it?
Yeah, you see it. Yeah. Well, and if it's, we'll probably have it up before that too. But at the same time, it's a good deal. And if you're listening, you can use your imagination. A sport bike, just a sad sport bike.
Yeah, I don't think I have the sport bike, the R6 picture, but I've got the KLX 400 picture.
But the Triumph is like a little sport bikey. It's not like super sport bikey, but it has the 3-cylinder engine.
Kind of sitting into it a little bit.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, like you guys were talking about it, you can totally sport bike with it. I can keep up with most people on Deals Gap, not the real fast guys, but most people. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
There we go. All right, you want to unlock your phone? We'll move us into. We're using other phones to record, so this is us moving into the second question for the night. And I had some questions about this at dinner tonight, but paid ADV rides versus grassroots free rides. So maybe give a little explanation to that
yeah.
question.
So I think the question is, what do you guys prefer? So when we're talking about adventure rides, like organized rides, I think there's two kind of categories. There's some of these organized adventure rides that you have to pay to join. A couple I can think of are off the top of my head are Buffalo 500, or really any AMA event, any AMA sponsored event. But there's others that somebody organizes it, and then they charge you an admission fee for you to ride along with the group. And then there's another group of just kind of grassroots, good old boys who put a route together. They put it out on the internet, on Facebook or on ADV Rider, and anybody downloads the track and joins and rides on a certain day. So of those, what do you guys prefer? What do you think is the best way to adventure ride? Which one's better?
So, question before we answer that is: these paid rides, are they on private property, public land, public roads?
All of the above.
They may cover. I mean, just like any adventure ride, they may cover all of the above or be on any of those. I think personally, if you're on, and this may be a topic for the future, but I think if you're on all private land, I don't know if that's an adventure ride necessarily.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never done a paid ride, so I mean, I'm along the scope of just
The thing
rides,
with the paid ride is there's a little organization, possibly some signage, little to no trespassing. Everything's legit. There's no funny business or should I really be here kind of situations. And like in the example of like an AMA ride, you're paying, but your money's going to do these rides and whatever other things AMA does.
Yeah, your money's going to support somebody who puts a lot of work into this and puts a good ride together, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure they support motorcycles in all sorts of ways, I'm sure.
Yeah,
so
and
that's really cool.
And like you said, the fact that it's a public ride and you're paying for it, they are typically very responsible with the route they put together, making sure that you're not on anybody's property or any questionable roads that maybe you're not supposed to be on.
Tunnels in Mexico.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the Backer Adventure Tour, you might end up somewhere you maybe shouldn't be because I'm not getting any money out of it.
Well,
yeah.
In Mexico, it's not trespassing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll share my view on it. I personally, I have somewhat of a problem with the paid rides because I have a problem with commercializing the sport. I guess I started this sport, many years ago. And
You started it?
No,
No,
sorry.
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I got into the. I got into the sport.
Yeah.
The grandfather of
He
ADV
started
riding.
adventure
I
riding in
started it
case
here.
nobody.
Got into the sport a long time ago before it was really very popular. And all it was, there were no paid rides. There were no real organized events. It was just a bunch of guys who wanted to have fun and ride together, and they'd throw a route together, and then they'd all go ride that route. So then I've watched it become more and more commercialized, and you lose some of the
Magic.
the magic, and the intimacy of it, because it becomes just another paid public thing that you get to go do.
Yeah.
So to some degree, I don't appreciate paying for a ride, and in fact, I personally avoid paid rides if possible.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't mind either. I think there's a place for both. Like the paid ride is less scary for someone new that's intimidated or whatever. Like, okay, there's a thing and it's organized and they'll give me a map and tell me where I'm supposed to go and how many miles it is. So I could see where it's less scary for somebody getting into it.
So let me ask you this. Do you consider, like I think there's a guy or a couple of guys that have designed the route for the Tennessee Dirt Devil, which I recently did. Mm-hmm. And he sells like a paper map, mails it to you. I've paid him before, which the paper map's tough for me because it's like, hey, that's not how we really navigate anymore. And I don't know what the position is with that, but do you feel like that is okay for maps? And it's obviously all on public roadways, so maybe give a little insight on what your thought on that is.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because you're finding a way to support the guy who put the work into this, and he's giving you a product back, right?
And he's not he's not getting rich.
Not getting
off
rich
of
out of it.
this.
That's right. It's not. I wouldn't consider that commercialization of the sport, right? Yeah. So I fully support that. I fully support because a whole lot of work goes into making something like that, and trust me, he's not getting paid for his time there.
Sure.
But it's a good way to get something back to him without really.
It's like
you
a
don't
tip.
have to pay to go ride that ride. So
It's like giving a tip to the, he made a cool route. Here you go.
I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like you should do that. And I don't know if you have plans to do that, but as many maps and as much time as I know you've put into that probably wouldn't be a bad move. And I don't know if there's a way to digitally sell the GPX files so that someone who's buying it feels like, hey, I'm supporting, Jeremy Backer in doing that. I don't know if you thought about doing it.
I think that's the challenge. I mean, I'm not opposed. I'm certainly not opposed to making some money off the work I put into this, right? Or at least getting a little bit of the money that I spend putting into these things, getting some of that back. But the challenge, I think, is finding how to monetize that in a way that is fair and seems right to people. And selling a GPX track is one thing, but they're pretty easy to copy, right? Pretty hard to control. So I think that's a lot of people's challenge who put these rides together, and that's probably why they're charging to pay the ride. I get that. Yeah.
Well, and maybe, like you said, it's hard to probably withhold that, or like the guy selling the paper maps, he's physically putting something into that. Mm-hmm. It's just not necessarily useful, but maybe there's a way, and maybe someone listening can give insight and comment on that. But maybe there's a way to do it like kind of the honor system. It's like, hey, I'm going to spend the whole day writing this, $5-10 for a GPX file. Maybe you send them a sticker or something because I know
It's
you
like
also
Wikipedia. You can make a donation.
Yeah.
Well, and
Like
hey,
it's free for everybody if you want to chip in.
Yeah. You got Cash App?
Yeah,
What's
sure.
your name
Venmo.
on Venmo?
It's always back of the biker everywhere.
Perfect. So, hey, if you use any of Backer's rides and you just feel like tipping him, go ahead.
I don't ask for that, but I won't say no.
Yeah. Hey, and
I've never paid him, so
unlock that for me, because I actually think this is a great segue into our next question, which is how detailed do you plan your ride? So, full details down the last minute versus start and end destinations only versus anything in between. So maybe talk us through your process to create those rides, because you've created how many rides now? I mean, a bunch. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've got a group of friends that we've always tried to go on at least one adventure ride a year through the summer. And so I usually end up putting that route together or tying on to a route, like we'll do a BDR, but then I'll create the return route. And then I also organize my own ride every year, my Backer Adventure Tour in May. And so, yeah, I've done a handful. And this is actually a topic maybe we could cover in more detail at some point, but I've got an app online, or it's just a web page I go to where you can create a route on a map, and it works really well. It's online. You can save it there, but
You scout the rides, don't you? Don't you actually spend some time to do that?
hours and hours.
Yeah.
So basically, I guess it all starts with an idea, right? What do I want to do? Where do I want to be? Where do I want to go riding? And then I will get on Google Maps and just start looking at zooming in on Google Maps and looking for interesting things. You'll follow a river, right? You'll zoom in on a river and you'll follow that river, and you'll look for cool bridges that go across the river or cool water crossings. You might follow creek branches off the river and look for water crossings there.
Your classic iron furnaces, man. You can magnet those things. You know where they all are.
Well, yeah, I've got a list of all of them. I actually know all of them that we know about where they are.
In case you guys didn't know, all of Backer's rides have a theme. So one was walking giants. It was all the drag lines from the coal mines. You ride these amazing roads, and then you pop out at this huge machine. So they always like the tunnel year was really cool.
Yeah.
I interrupted you. You play it online, then you start to look for points of interest.
Yeah, so you kind of start with your points. I start with my points of interest, and I lay them all out, and then I figure out which ones I want to ride to, and then it's just connect the dots from there. You got a bunch of dots you want to go to, and you just start finding cool roads that connect those dots together.
And you're doing this online.
But I do it online, yeah. There's a page, a web page, an app online that I use, and then I transfer that to Google Maps. Not the Google Maps that we use on our phone or whatever, but it's maps.google.com, I think. It's a separate place where you can save routes or map GPS files. And I've got thousands of GPS files saved in this place. So anyway, I'll save them there, and then you can organize them and mix them and match them. And then, share it.
So then do you scout it after you're like, what's the next step?
Oh, it's a good point. Yeah, throughout. What I'll do is once I've got an idea where I want to go, I'll put a route together, and then I'll go ride it. Maybe get somebody to go ride it with me, and we'll do a day of riding. Yeah, and we'll learn what roads actually go through, what roads don't, where you can, what you can ride and not. And I make notes on my GPS as I'm riding. I say, I'll put up a waypoint, and I'll say road dead ends or
bridges out or whatever.
Angry farmer. And then you go back the next day and you look at your notes, the waypoints you put in, and you take out the stuff that didn't work.
An update.
And sometimes you're on a ride with Jeremy and he says, I hope this works because I haven't pre-ran this part yet.
Yeah, that's true too.
So really, anyone who rides the routes that you've come up with is probably the best way to put it. Most of the time you have ridden that route yourself, kind of pre-run it, and you've made it the best route that you can. So.
Any route that I put together, I have ridden every bit of that route, and I've ridden most parts of that route 3, 4, 5 times. Last year's ride that I put together, I made 6 trips to Kentucky to complete it.
That's a lot of time.
Ideally,
and gas, man.
I could get it done in 3 weekends, but for different reasons, weather and other things didn't cooperate, and I had to go 6 times last year. So it's a lot of effort.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's cool,
but it's fun. It's all very enjoyable.
Oh, for
and
sure.
if you love what you do, you won't work a day in your life, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
I know there was. I did your Iron Furnace tour in Eastern Kentucky. When was that? June, probably, that I ran it. Because it was after you guys. I wasn't able to join the weekend that you did it.
Yeah.
But very fun route. There was a point where I was cussing you a little bit because I was like, my bike should not be up here. But, I'm like, well, I did it. So
proud of you, Arlo.
It was fun. My buddy's like, I cannot believe you took your bike up that. I was like, I can't either. But it's just a tire. It's fun.
That's the point, and that's something else I try to do on my ride is I try to stretch people, right? I don't create a go-around for everything. Some riders, they'll create an easy go-around for any little rock road or anything. But I try to make somebody get a little bit uncomfortable on their big bike and show them that they can do it because they can usually do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what about you? Do you plan any routes? Have you ever done that?
No, I just follow Backer. And then sometimes he makes me go in front and then we go off course because I don't follow. I miss the turn and then I turn around and it's okay.
Arlo, you do some long rides. You've done some long rides on your Harley.
I have, yeah.
How do you do that? How do you navigate? How do you plan that out?
The Pan America is mostly my touring bike. So that thing's never seen off-road at all, which is a sin. You can tease me for it. It's fine. But and I bought it because I was thinking I could ride with you guys. I remember you being like, yeah, that bike's a little bit not going to work. I'm sorry. But that's okay. So touring, I mean, I enjoy, I've done Tail the Dragon with it. Recently took it to Savannah, so through South Carolina and then Savannah, Georgia, up the coast to Myrtle Beach, through Charleston and all that. And just done longer rides with it, and it's been an awesome bike for that. It's got heated grips, cruise control, all the creature comforts that make it easy to do those things. But my routes there, it kind of all just depends where you're at.
So for the most part, though, are you just typing a destination into Google Maps and then following that, or?
So the Harley app that communicates with the bike, because that has a built-in screen for GPS and all that. The app will allow you to choose, it says avoid highways, and that is interstates. Mm-hmm. So I avoid highways, and it actually puts me on highways mostly.
So is this an integrated GPS on the Harley? I don't know how that works. Yeah.
So you choose the route through your app and then send it to the bike. Yeah. So it's not a built-in unit. It's more copying what your phone has.
Okay. So that's still pretty cool. Yeah.
It is useful. It gives all the Harley dealers. So if you have a problem, there's a vast network of Harley dealers, which is nice.
That's really funny that they have to include that
to include those in their
service.
Well, but the avoid highways feature, I mean, that's on a lot of your navigation apps, so that's not anything new. Sure. But it is nice because it's on the screen, and I do have a quad lock mount on my handlebars that charges and all that, so I can use my phone for Waze and things like that. But for the most part, it's utilizing that avoid highway feature and going from there. So
and that works. That's cool. Yeah.
So and it's a fun bike to do that with. But yeah, I've never planned a route like you have, and I'm with Patrick. I just ride what you ride what you tell me to.
Well, I did that for my first 10 years of adventure riding as well. So you'll get there one day. I believe in you too.
I've planned some routes that I haven't ever finished. I've got a good one on Google Maps that I forgot about. I just found it by accident the other day.
Well, you're halfway there then.
I know.
Yeah. Where is it?
It's just around. It's just Du Bois County only. It's all the roads that I found all the roads that I like that were super curvy, hilly, rocky, muddy, whatever it was. I basically identified all of them, and then just like you said, I just connected the dots in between in the most fun way that I could think of, but I've never tried it.
Well, let's try it.
Okay.
Let's go.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you've listened to this and enjoyed our topics, maybe comment on how you plan your routes, and have you planned any? Haven't you? Give people some tips. You heard some great things from Backer here about how he plans his routes, and understand the time and energy that goes into that. That's so thank you for doing that.
Let's hear what app you use, or what web page, or computer program you use to lay your route out, because I think that there are several, and it's hard to identify or find those sometimes. So yeah, I'm interested to hear that from y'all.
Yeah, share your resources.
Yep.
So perfect, awesome. Thanks for listening.